The massive command ship Eternal Vigil drifted through space like a dying star. Its crystal towers, once bright with power, now flickered with weak emergency lights. Inside the main chamber, Council Speaker Vexthera stared at the holographic map floating before her. Red dots marked dead worlds. Too many red dots. "Another system is gone," she whispered, her crystal body glowing dim with sadness. War Commander Vexmel clicked his claws against the metal floor. His bug-like armor made sharp sounds as he moved. The Corvani fleet tried to fight. 17 billion people lived on those worlds. Now they are all dead. The swarm ate everything in 6 hours. The other aliens in the room said nothing. They'd seen this happen before. World after world. Fleet after fleet, everything fell to the void swarm. The swarm was like a cloud of hungry monsters that moved from star to star, eating every living thing they found. Vexthera looked around the chamber. 12 different alien species stood there, but their eyes all showed the same thing: fear. The great Thimaris Empire had sent their best warriors. The Karathi had built the strongest warships in the galaxy. The Zarian Coalition had the smartest computers and the most advanced weapons. None of it mattered. The swarm had destroyed them all. "We have to ask for help," Vexthera said finally. "We must call every species in the galaxy, even the small ones, even the weak ones, anyone who can hold a weapon." The other aliens nodded slowly. They had no choice left. The message went out across space, traveling faster than light to every corner of the galaxy. It was simple, but desperate. "Help us. Fight the void swarm. Any species that helps will become full members of the Galactic Council. We will give you planets and rights. Please help us survive." Most species that received the message were already dead or running away. The swarm had been eating its way across the galaxy for months. But the signal kept traveling, reaching farther and farther into space. Far away, near a small yellow star, the message finally reached Earth. The planet looked peaceful, from space blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land. But hidden in orbit around the red planet Mars was a secret base. The Deep Space Monitoring Station had been watching the stars for 50 years. Waiting for something like this, Lieutenant Commander Kim Jun was working the night shift when the alien message arrived. He was a young man with sharp eyes and quick hands. When the computer started beeping, he knew something important was happening. "What is this?" he said to himself, staring at the strange signals on his screen. The message was in alien languages, dozens of them mixed together. But Earth's computers were smart. They had been learning alien languages for years, from radio signals that traveled through space. Slowly, word by word, the computer began to translate. Kim Jun's eyes got wide as he read. An alien council was asking for help. Something called the Void Swarm was destroying everything in its path. The aliens were offering to make Earth a full member of their galactic government if humans would help fight. "This is impossible," Kim Jun whispered. He had dreamed about meeting aliens since he was a child. Every human had, but this was not how he imagined it would happen. The aliens were not coming to Earth to say hello. They were asking Earth to help them fight a war. Kim Jun's hand shook as he pressed the emergency button on his console. Red lights flashed throughout the station. Within minutes, Admiral Park Sung-ho was standing behind him. Admiral Park was an old man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been a soldier for 40 years. He looked at the translated message on Kim Jun's screen and read it twice. "Are you sure this is real?" Admiral Park asked. "Yes, sir. The signal is coming from the center of the galaxy. The translation programs say it is a distress call from something called the Galactic Council." Admiral Park was quiet for a long moment. He thought about all the science fiction movies he had watched as a child. He thought about all the times humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Yet now he knew they were not alone, and the aliens needed help. "Send this message to Earth immediately," Admiral Park ordered. "The Global Defense Initiative needs to see this." Within hours, the message was on every important desk on Earth. Presidents, generals, and scientists, all read the same words. Aliens were real. They were dying. And they wanted human help. The meeting in Geneva was short but intense. Leaders from every country sat around a big table arguing about what to do. Some people said it was too dangerous.
Eyes.
Others said it was a trick. But most people agreed on one thing. If aliens were real and they needed help, humans had to try. Have been preparing for this day without knowing it, said General Lee Minwoo. Every war we have fought has taught us how to fight. Every weapon we have built has made us stronger. But we only have a few hundred spaceships, another general argued. The aliens are talking about fighting something that destroyed entire civilizations. Admiral Park stood up slowly. Then we will show them how humans fight. We do not give up. We do not run away. When someone asks for help, we help. The vote was unanimous. Earth would answer the call. Commander Han Taemin was chosen to lead the first contact mission. He was a smart, calm man who had commanded spaceships. For 20 years, as his ship New Seoul flew toward the alien council, he wondered what he would find. "Sir," said Lieutenant Ko Yoonji from her seat at the communications station, "we are getting close to the alien command ship. They sound surprised that we actually came." Han Taemin smiled grimly. "Then let us show them what humans do when hope is running out." The huge doors of the alien council chamber opened with a soft hiss. Commander Han Taemin walked in first, his black uniform clean and pressed. Behind him came 4 other humans, carrying data tablets and looking around with wide eyes. The chamber was enormous, bigger than any building on Earth. Strange alien creatures sat in floating chairs around a circular table. Some looked like giant insects with shiny shells. Others were made of living crystal that glowed with soft light. Few had tentacles instead of arms, and one looked like a walking tree with many eyes. All of them were staring at the humans. War Commander Dexmal was the first to speak. He was 8 feet tall, with a hard shell like a beetle and claws that clicked when he moved. "So," he said, his voice deep and rumbling, "Earth sends 5 people and calls this military help." Commander Han stood straight and calm. "We are the advance team. Our main fleet is getting ready to come." Some of the aliens made sounds that might have been laughing. It was not a nice sound. Council Speaker Vexera was more polite. She looked like a woman made of clear crystal, and light moved inside her body when she talked. "Commander Han, we thank you for coming. You are brave, but the Void Swarm has destroyed civilizations that had millions of warships. How many ships does Earth have?" Captain Song Hyrin stepped forward. She was a small woman with short hair and sharp eyes. "We have 467 combat ships ready to fight," she said clearly. The chamber went completely quiet. The aliens looked at each other with expressions that clearly said they thought humans were crazy. Dexmel's claws clicked against the floor. The Karathi people had 50,000 warships. They were the best fighters in the galaxy. The swarm destroyed them all in 6 hours. Han did not seem upset by this news. "May we see your battle records? We want to learn how the swarm fights." The aliens looked surprised. Most species that came to ask for help were scared and desperate. These humans seemed calm and curious. "Of course," Vexera said, "but I do not think it will help you understand. The swarm is not like anything you have fought before." For the next few hours, the humans sat at the big table and studied everything. Holographic displays showed space battles where huge alien fleets fought against dark clouds of enemy ships. The swarm ships looked like living things. They moved and twisted, like sea creatures swimming through space. Lieutenant Naim Duhayan was the team's war expert. He was a thin man who talked very fast and thought even faster. He watched the battle, videos over and over, making notes on his tablet. Dr. Yu Soo-jin was the team's science expert. She was older than the others, with gray hair and glasses that made her look very smart. She studied the swarm creatures themselves, how they moved, how they communicated, how they attacked. The aliens watched the humans work, but they did not think it would help. The swarm had destroyed every civilization it met. These humans with their tiny fleet would be eaten just like everyone else. "The swarm is perfect," explained Zetcon, an alien that looked like a floating jellyfish. "They do not feel fear. They do not get tired. They do not make mistakes. They only eat and grow stronger. Han looked up from the displays. Interesting. They fight like a traditional army. Traditional. Christo body flashed with confusion. They are the perfect war machine. They have never lost a battle. That is the problem, Han said quietly. They have never lost, so they have never had to learn. The aliens did not understand what he meant. Captain Song pointed at one of the battle videos. Look at how they attack. They always use the same pattern. Big ships in front, smaller ships behind. They form lines and charge forward. It works, Thexmel said. They are stronger than everyone else. But it is predictable, Han said. They do the same thing every time, because it always works. They have never fought an enemy that does not fight the same way. Dr. Yu adjusted her glasses. Ain't on Earth. We have a saying, if you always do what you have always done, you will always get what you have always gotten. The swarm gets victory because they are stronger. But what if they fought someone who did not try to be stronger? The aliens were getting confused. How could you win a war without being stronger than your enemy? Lieutenant Nam looked excited. Commander, look at this. Every battle follows the same pattern. The swarm forms up in battle lines. The defenders form up in battle lines. They charge at each other and fight until one side is destroyed. Like ancient armies fighting with swords, Han said with a small smile. But space battles are not like sword fights, protested Vexetta. You need big ships and powerful weapons. Do you? Han asked. What if you did not fight their big ships? What if you did not form battle lines? What if you did not do what they expect? The aliens looked at each other. This was a strange way to think about war. Thexmal's claws clicked nervously. What are you suggesting? God. On Earth, we have fought many wars, Han said. We have learned that the strongest army does not always win. Sometimes the smartest army wins. Sometimes the most stubborn army wins. Sometimes the army that fights dirty wins. Dirty? Vexthera asked. Not honorable, Captain Song explained. Hit and run, tricks, ambushes, fighting in ways your enemy does not expect. The aliens looked shocked. This was not how civilized people fought wars. The swarm expects you to meet them in honorable battle, Han continued. Ship against ship, strength against strength. But what if you did not give them what they expect? This is disturbing, Thexmel said. You speak of war without honor. You speak of war where people survive, Han replied simply. Honor is nice. Being alive is better. The Zarian star system was quiet in the early morning. 3 small planets orbited the yellow sun, and space stations floated peacefully between them. But this peace was about to end. Suddenly, the darkness of space began to move. The void swarm came out of hyperspace like a black cloud spreading across the stars. Their ships did not look like normal spaceships. They looked alive, twisting and moving like sea creatures made of metal and flesh. There were thousands of them. Arranged in perfect lines like soldiers on parade, the biggest ones were in front, the size of cities. Smaller ones followed behind in neat rows. They moved forward slowly like a giant army marching to war. On the other side of the system, the Galactic Council fleet waited. 3,000 ships from 12 different alien species floated in their own perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed with polished metal and glowing energy shields. War Commander Thexmal stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Sovereign's Wrath. Through the large windows, he could see the swarm approaching like a wall of darkness. All ships maintain formation. He commanded into his communicator, prepare all weapons for concentrated fire. The alien fleet was beautiful to watch. Their ships moved together like dancers, each one in exactly the right place. When they fired their weapons, streams of bright plasma and particle beams lit up the space between the two fleets. The swarm fired back with their bioweapons. Instead of clean energy beams, they shot streams of living acid that ate through metal and energy shields like hungry insects. Where the acid touched, alien ships began to dissolve. But something was wrong. The human fleet was supposed to be there, too, but nobody could see them. Where are the humans? Admiral Zexthrin demanded from his crystal ship. He was the leader of the Thimaris forces, and his voice sounded angry and worried. Are they hiding like cowards? Lieutenant Commander Kim Jun's voice came through the communication system. He was somewhere in the battle, but nobody could see. His ship, no, Admiral. We are not hiding. We are hunting. Suddenly, human ships began to appear all around the battlefield, but they were not appearing where anyone expected. They did not form neat lines like the alien ships. Instead, they came from above, below, and from the sides in small groups. The human ships looked different too. They were smaller and darker than the alien vessels, and they moved fast and unpredictably. They did not try to fight the big swarm ships. Instead, they went after the smaller support vessels and the command, ships that told the others what to do. Captain Lee Hae-won was commanding a human missile ship called the Gwangju. She was a tough woman who had been fighting space pirates for 10 years. She was hunting something much more dangerous. Target locked, she said to her crew. Fire. Package Alpha. Nuclear warheads, full spread. The missiles shot out from her ship like angry hornets. They were not the clean, precise weapons that the aliens used. They were crude, simple nuclear bombs, the same kind of weapons that humans had been building for over a century. The nuclear explosions lit up space like tiny suns. The swarm ships that were hit did not just take damage, they were completely destroyed in balls of fire and radiation. But the most surprising thing was how the swarm reacted. They did not just take the damage and keep fighting. They actually pulled back as if they were confused and frightened. Impossible, whispered one of the alien commanders. They are using atomic weapons in space combat. That is barbaric, said another. Civilized people do not use such crude weapons. The human weapons were working. Each nuclear explosion destroyed not just one swarm ship, but damaged several others around it. The swarm's perfect formation began to break apart. Captain Choi. Mina was commanding a small human ship called the Daegu. Her ship was fast, but not very strong. In a normal space battle, she would have been destroyed quickly. But this was not a normal space battle. Target the big one, she told her crew. Pointing at a swarm command ship the size of a building, full speed ahead. Her ship shot forward like a bullet, dodging the acid streams that the swarm fired at her. The aliens watched in horror as they realized what she was planning. She is going to ram them, Admiral Zextherin shouted. That is suicide. But Captain Choi was not planning to die for nothing. Just before her ship hit the swarm command vessel, she activated her nuclear self-destruct system. The explosion was like a small star being born. The swarm command ship was torn apart, and the nuclear fire spread to other nearby vessels. More importantly, the smaller swarm ships that had been taking orders from the command ship suddenly did not know what to do. All across the battlefield, human ships were doing the same thing. They were not fighting fair, honorable battles. They were using tricks, ambushes, weapons that civilized people thought were too dangerous to use. The swarm had never faced anything like this before. They were used to fighting other aliens who followed the same rules of war. But humans did not follow those rules. Lieutenant Commander Kim Jun's ship, the Incheon, appeared behind a group of swarm bioships. Surprise, he said softly, and fired a spread of nuclear torpedoes. The explosions chain-reacted through the swarm formation. Ships that had been moving in perfect coordination suddenly scattered in all directions. For the first time in decades, the Void Swarm was not winning a battle. They are retreating, Ismail said, his voice full of disbelief. The swarm is actually retreating. The alien commanders watched their sensors in amazement. The dark cloud of swarm ships was pulling back, leaving the Zarian system behind. It was the first time anyone had seen the swarm lose a battle. Commander Han Taemin's voice came over the communication. System from his command ship. Earth fleet. Mission accomplished. Zarian system is secure. The aliens sat in stunned silence. The primitive humans had just done something that the greatest military minds in the galaxy had thought was impossible. They had made the Void Swarm run away. The message traveled faster than light across the galaxy. In hidden caves on dead worlds, in secret bases floating in empty space, in underground bunkers on besieged planets, the news spread like fire through dry grass. The Void Swarm had been defeated at Zarian. For the first time in months, people who had been running and hiding began to hope again. On the refugee world of Kethmara, a young alien child looked up at her mother with wide eyes. Is it true? Did someone really beat the monsters? Her mother, who had watched the swarm destroy their home planet, nodded with tears in her eyes. Yes, little one. The humans did it. They made the swarm run away. The Galactic Council chamber was busier than it had been in years. Admiral Park. Sung-Ho walked through the great doors, followed by a dozen human officers. The aliens who had once looked down on humanity now stood up to greet them with respect. Admiral Park Vexthera said, her crystal body glowing brighter than before, "We are honored by your presence." Behind Admiral Park, holographic displays showed the true size of Earth's military forces. The aliens gasped as they saw the numbers. Thousands of ships filled the screens, not just the few hundred they had seen before, but an entire fleet that stretched across multiple star systems. "You have been preparing for this war for a long time," Vexathora observed. Admiral Park was an old man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had been a soldier longer than most aliens had been alive. "We have been preparing for war since we first looked up at the stars," he said simply. "Just did not know who we would be fighting." The humans brought new ideas to the Galactic War, ideas that made the alien commanders uncomfortable. They talked about total war, which meant using everything you had to win. They talked about acceptable losses, which meant some people would die to save others. They talked about strategic sacrifice, which meant giving up small things to gain big things. These concepts were strange to the aliens. Most galactic civilizations fought wars with rules and honor. They tried to minimize casualties and fight cleanly, but humans fought wars to win, no matter what it took. "We will retrofit your ships with human weapons," General Osun Kwan explained to a group of alien captains. He was a big man with scars on his face from old battles. Nuclear missiles, kinetic kill vehicles, electromagnetic pulse weapons. They are not pretty, but they work. The alien captains looked nervous. Their ships had been built with elegant plasma weapons and particle beams. Now the humans wanted to bolt crude nuclear missiles to their hulls. "But these weapons are so primitive," complained Captain Velthar of the Thymaris fleet. "Primitive weapons kill just as well as advanced ones," General O replied. "Sometimes better, because nobody expects them." Captain Zhang Najin was put in charge of training the alien crews. She was a small woman with quick hands and a sharp mind. She set up training camps on empty planets where human officers taught alien soldiers how to fight like humans. "Forget everything you know about honor in battle," she told a group of confused alien warriors. "The swarm does not care about honor. They only care about eating. If you fight with honor, you will be eaten." With honor. The aliens learned to set ambushes, to attack from hiding, to use tricks and deception. The galaxy's most educated military minds learned to think like bandits and pirates. War Commander. Vexmel attended one of these training sessions. He watched. Human instructors teach alien soldiers to plant mines, to make fake distress calls, to pretend to retreat and then attack from behind. "This is not how civilized people fight," he complained to Captain Zhang. "Civilized people are dead," she replied. Coldly, "We are teaching you how to be alive." The new tactics began to work across the galaxy. The Caltharian system had been under attack for weeks. But when they used human-designed minefields, the swarm ships were destroyed before they could land. The Zarian coalition had been trapped in a siege for 3 years, but when they equipped their ships with human nuclear weapons, they broke free in a single day. Hope began to return to the galaxy. Refugee camps became military bases. Hiding became fighting. The swarm, which had seemed unstoppable, began to lose battles. But the swarm was not stupid. They had been conquering civilizations for millions of years, and they knew how to adapt. New types of swarm creatures began to appear. Some had thick armor that could resist nuclear explosions. Others had shields that blocked electromagnetic pulses. Still others had no central command structure, so cutting off their leaders did not stop them. Dr. Usajin studied the new swarm forms in her laboratory aboard the human research ship Sol. She was worried by what she saw. They're evolving. Specifically to counter our tactics, she reported to Admiral Park. They are learning from every battle. How fast are they adapting? Admiral Park asked. Faster than we hoped. Much faster. At this rate, our advantage will be gone within months. The news was sobering. Humans had given the galaxy hope, but that hope might not last long. The swarm was changing, becoming immune to human weapons and tactics. In the council chamber, the alien leaders looked worried again. They had begun to believe they could win, but now victory seemed uncertain. What do we do? Asked Vexthera. If the swarm adapts to all our weapons, how can we fight them? Admiral Park stood quietly for a moment, thinking. Around him, the greatest minds in the galaxy waited for his answer. We end this war before they finish adapting, he said finally. We hit them with everything we have, all at once, before they can learn to stop us. But where? Asked Thexmel. The swarm is spread across 1,000 systems. Admiral Park smiled grimly. They will come to us. The swarm is angry now. They've been embarrassed by a primitive species. They will want to destroy the source of their problems? You mean? Vexthera's crystals flickered with understanding. They will come to Earth, Admiral Park confirmed. And when they do, we will be ready. The stars disappeared one by one as the dark shapes moved across space. Captain Shin looked through the window of his space station and felt his heart sink. There were so many enemy ships that they blocked out the light from distant suns. Oh, many are there? He asked his team. More than we can count, sir, came the reply. Billions of bioships. Far across the galaxy, other planets watched through their communication systems. Everyone expected to see Earth die today. The swarm had never lost a battle. They ate entire worlds and turned them into more ships for their endless war. Fleet. Admiral Han stood calm and still on his command station. Below him, Earth looked peaceful and beautiful. The blue ocean sparkled in the sunlight. White clouds drifted across the continents. It seemed impossible that such a quiet world could fight off the greatest threat in the galaxy. Double quotes, sir. Should we call for help? Asked one of his officers. Han shook his head. Oh, execute Protocol Omega. The officer's eyes went wide. Sir, you sure? Do it now? What happened next shocked every being watching across the galaxy. The space around Earth began to change. What looked like normal defense stations started to unfold like giant metal flowers. Hidden weapons appeared from inside. Massive guns bigger than city blocks pointed toward the approaching enemy fleet. The moon itself began to crack open. Gray surface split apart like an egg. Underneath was not rock and dust, but metal and weapons. The entire moon had been hollowed out and turned into the largest gun ever built. This is impossible, whispered Vexthera, the swarm commander. Watched from her command ship far behind the attacking fleet, they turned their whole planet system into a weapon. The swarm had attacked thousands of worlds. It had seen many different defenses, but nothing like this. Earth had been preparing for this battle for decades. Every human had worked together. To build these hidden weapons, Lieutenant Commander Kim sat deep inside the moon at Gangnam Base. Around him, thousands of humans worked at computers and control panels. The walls hummed with power. All weapons ready, he reported. Planetary defense grid is online. Fire when ready, came the order from Fleet Admiral Han. The battle began with a flash of light, so bright it could be seen from other star systems. The moon's main weapon fired first. A beam of pure energy shot across space and cut through 1,000,000 enemy ships in 1 second. The blast was so powerful it left a clear path through the swarm fleet. But the swarm kept coming. They had billions of ships. Even losing 1,000,000 was not enough to stop them. The orbital platforms opened fire next. Thousands of railguns shot metal slugs at incredible speeds. Each slug could destroy a building, and they fired hundreds every second. Nuclear missiles followed, filling space with explosions that turned the darkness into bright fire. The bioships fought back. They were alive, grown, instead of built. They could heal themselves and adapt to attacks. Green acid sprayed from their mouths, trying to eat through Earth's defenses, But the humans had planned for this too. Energy shields appeared around their stations. The acid hit the shields and bounced off harmlessly. For hours, the battle raged. Space around Earth became a graveyard of broken ships and floating debris. The swarm kept attacking, but they could not break through the human defenses. "Sir," called Dr. Yu from a research station. "I have something important to report." Fleet Admiral Han was busy watching the battle, but he knew Dr. Yu was one of their smartest scientists. "What is it? We found something in the swarms?" "Computer systems. The creatures controlling these bioships are not the original swarm." "What do you mean? The real swarm creators are still alive? They've been hiding." "Yes. These bioships took over their empire thousands of years ago. The bioships are fighting their own war now." Han felt his heart race. "Can you contact the original creators?" "We're trying now, sir." Across the battle, a new signal appeared. It was not from the attacking bioships. It came from somewhere else, hidden in space. "This is Keeper Zoth of the True Swarm," the message said. "We have been waiting for someone strong enough to help us. The bioships stole our technology and enslaved our people. If you can defeat them, we will help you free the galaxy." Fleet Admiral Han smiled for the first time in hours. The battle was far from over, but now they had hope. Earth's weapons were holding the line. They had just found an ally in the most unexpected place. The bioships continued their attack, but they were fewer now. Earth's defenses had destroyed billions of them. The survivors were retreating. "To regroup, all stations maintain defensive positions," Han ordered. "This is just the beginning."